Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fourth quarterly Future of Travel event titled Sunnier Days Ahead. Unfortunately, we continue to find ourselves in considerably tough times with this ongoing pandemic, but we do anticipate sunnier days ahead, if not at least the weather in Canada, and hopefully also the tourism industry as well. My name's Devin Kanaz. I'm the leader and publisher of Travelweek, a media company dedicated to getting you the information that you need to do your job. When we started these events more than a year ago, I think we all hoped that we would have been out of it by now, but we do find ourselves in tough times. Many of us are still in lockdown. It seems that the travel regulations, at least here in Canada, are increasing rather than decreasing. We haven't been able to get a concrete plan from the government about what reopening will look like. And there's lots of companies and individuals that still need financial support. There's also been reputational damage to the travel industry and ongoing travel shaming. On the sunnier side, there is possibly some things that allude to what might happen when travel does open up. We've seen all kinds of progress in the US in regards to getting their vaccination program off the ground quickly, and a lot of their tourism assets are opening up. We have the Europeans who are very dedicated to the summer tourism season. And in Canada, we have cases that are coming down and the vaccination rate is going up. Also, there's significant pent-up demand, almost boiling demand. I was talking to my mom the other day and she looked at me with a very serious face and she said, "Devin, at my age, I can't afford to lose a summer in Europe." Me neither. So today we have a bunch of very esteemed guests and we're going to be talking through the tough times and what's going on right now and looking forward to the sunnier days and figuring out how we can all position ourselves when the planes do decide to take off again. We have a lot of great prizes today, including a $500 Visa gift card that will be drawn at the end, so make sure you stay the full 2 hours. We have a chat box where I encourage you to make your opinions known or shout out to the keynote speakers. Up first is Catherine Bulliett. She is the longtime editor of Travelweek magazine and extremely knowledgeable on everything that's happening right now. She is here with Transat, who's been all over the news, so it's sure to be a very interesting interview. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, I'm here with Joe Adamo, who is Chief Sales and Marketing Officer with Transat and also President of Transat Distribution Canada. Thanks for joining us again, Joe.
Hi, Catherine. Always a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. I'll jump right into the refunds process. I know it's very timely news. Transat, of course, is starting its refunds process. It also protected agent commission, which is fantastic news. Can you just let us know how the refunds process is going and just any message you want to let agents know that they can pass on to their clients if they're interested in filing for a refund?
Sure, thank you. So a few weeks into the refund process, I would say it's going very well. We really mobilized and provided agents with as much information upfront as we could, as well as some pretty slick self-serve tools whereby they can go ahead and proceed with refund requests. So far it's going very well. As expected, we have a very high opt-in rate from full service travel agents. No surprise, they are on the ball. They are really taking this, running with it, doing right by their customers, and getting those requests in to us. My one message is thank you for doing that. And while we do have till August 26th, that's our opt-in window period, I would encourage you to get them in early because they will be processed on a first come, first served basis.
Okay, that's good to know, both to have that date, the August 26th date, and also first come, first serve. That speaks to a lot of people, and that should help speed up the process. So thanks for letting me know. I know last summer, I guess it was, when Transat had to just suspend its Western Canada program, the commissions were recalled for those flight cancellations. Can you tell me what's happening with those commissions?
Sure. I'm pleased to confirm, Catherine, that as part of this mass refund initiative, where commissions on new refunds are being protected and not recalled, we've taken the decision to retroactively do the same on the refunds we did last summer as part of our Western withdrawal. This is not an obligation imposed on us by the Canadian government as a condition of the loans they are making to us. This is something we've decided to do so that the first refunds we did would be treated no differently from an agent point of view. So happy to report we will reinstate those commissions in the coming weeks and months. The process is a little manual, but the good news is monies will be returned.
Okay. And that's the ultimate good outcome. That's right. Whether it's a bit of a winding road, but that's great news. So I'm glad to have you confirm that. Thank you. I'll ask another question that I'm sure everybody's wondering, but I don't think that Transat, nobody still has a crystal ball, and nobody really knows when the restrictions will get lifted. I'm sure that the answer is no, but is there any guidance that Transat has received in terms of when the travel restrictions will be lifted?
Yeah, I wish we get this question all the time. We liaise with our government authorities through multiple channels. One is direct as an airline with who's licensed to operate in this country, through the National Airlines Council of Canada, Canadian Association that we are a member of, and of course IATA, which is the granddaddy of them all, the Airline Trade Association. I really wish I could say, this is when restrictions will be lifted. We don't know. I can't say if the government knows, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But we do lobby to have some direction, a framework as to what conditions would lead to a lessening of the restrictions. We don't yet have that. The UK really is the shining model for this. It's been very well publicized, I think, in trade media and others, where they have at least laid out timelines and conditions whereby travel can restart on a staggered basis. We'd love nothing better in Canada, but we don't have that just yet. So what that means is we are all left to kind of prognosticate and estimate when would be a good time to start. And right now, we have suspended our operations up to July 29th inclusive. Our feeling is there really is no traction in June and very little in July. So at best, we hope to restart on Friday, July 30th.
Okay. And that's, I'm glad to know that at least, and I think most Canadians will be glad to know, and certainly travel agents, it sort of feels from the industry that part of the summer may be salvaged. And you're right that nobody really knows, and the government, it's not that they sort of secretly know and they're not sharing it. They're waiting for the numbers to come down too. It is still a guessing game, which is frustrating. But when Transat does restart operations in late July, can you talk a bit about what routes, destinations, it would be a very limited restart, I would assume, but what would you be prioritizing at that point?
Yeah, so for sure, a very limited restart, Catherine. We're talking some domestic routes for a good reason. There are fewer restrictions domestically, but even there, right? The last few weeks, there has been, bashing even on domestic flights. with the third wave very well entrenched in Ontario, Quebec, and BC. Even interprovincial travel has come under fire. But certainly we would hope to operate some domestic routes and a handful of international routes that skew towards VFR market. That's the very first few weeks of the restart. And then we'd hope to layer on a bit of everything, a bit of transborder, a bit more sun markets, and a bit more transatlantic. Of course, all leisure centric, that is what we are. But going beyond your traditional VFR routes, which, in our case, VFR is, for example, Montreal, Paris is very much a VFR route. And we have others like that, but going beyond that to more leisure routes, we'd love to operate them in the back end of summer. But the summer has been, it's going to be a difficult summer. There's no question. We have not operated and will not operate before July 30th at best. I don't want to say the summer's a write-off, but as you say, we're hoping to salvage the back end of the summer.
Yeah, I think it seems like everybody, as much as everybody wants that wonderful, everything's open, realistically, we've all been there for 15 months. Everybody knows that it's not going to be a magical 100% reopening. So a realistic, keeping expectations tempered is probably the best way to go. I wanted to go a little bit into another topic, which, was such a going concern for a couple of years. And I'm sure everybody at Transat and Air Canada and the travel industry, we really wanted to see the two airlines get together. And that deal, of course, didn't work out for many reasons. But do you want to just speak to, is Transat, now that it's got its funding from the government and its credit loans and that kind of thing, which is great news, is Transat okay on its own? And it was just a case of Air Canada, the acquisition by Air Canada, was that just like a really good fit and it doesn't necessarily need, somebody else to come along and buy it?
So the short answer is we are fine, and we don't need someone else to come in on their stallion to save us. Certainly, the deal was a good deal pre-pandemic. A lot of good reasons for joining forces with Air Canada. The pandemic changed all that for obvious reasons. The appetite and the size of the market isn't what it once was, so the deal will not happen. With what we've shored up with the Canadian government, in addition to monies we already had, we will be fine. We can fund our recovery, we can finance our refunds, and Transat will be just fine to operate as a independent public company. Does that mean, there may not be interested parties still looking to purchase us? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But our viability, our future is not dependent on the company being privatized or being purchased by anyone else. And that's really excellent news because it gives us degrees of freedom to operate. And then our board of directors will decide what's in the best interest of the company for its shareholders, but there is no emergency to have us change hands. Certainly not in the foreseeable future, Catherine.
Okay, good, because I know it's such a wonderful company and such a strong Canadian company, and I'm so glad to hear that it's not necessarily, hey, we need anybody, kind of thing. It's something that Air Canada was a great fit. That didn't work out, and so now just we go back to basics and go on from there.
Well, it's all of this is dependent on a good brand and a good business plan, and we think we have both, and we have plans to operate sustainably and profitably in the years to come. Now it's about executing and getting that done. So. Now that the air is cleared on Air Canada, we have proper liquidity. We will get this done.
Do you think you would go back to Western Canada?
You never say never. It's very difficult for us to pull out of Western Canada. I'd love to get back there, but we would only do it if we are absolutely convinced that it will in no way deter from our focus in Eastern Canada. This is a very competitive market. We've made choices as the industry restarts. And before we would look outside of Eastern Central Canada, we would have to be convinced that it in no way jeopardizes our franchise in those focus markets. Would love to get back, Catherine. Just don't know when.
Okay, well, fair enough. That's a very honest answer, and I can feel, sense your intentions there are wanting to get back, just not sure when. My last question, and it was something that you had mentioned in one of our interviews that you and I did last year, and you had told agents, don't wait for that light bulb moment, because the light bulb moment may not come of when suddenly this is all over all at once. And it's really stuck with me through all these months, and not just for travel, but for everything. I mean, I think we all want that movie moment at the end of the movie when everything's okay again, and it'll be much more gradual. So with that in mind, all this pressure now to come up with another something else that captures the moment, but what's your advice for travel agents just heading into the second half of 2021?
My advice is largely the same. While there's very little travel actually happening now, certainly in the leisure space, we are sowing the seeds now for an eventual recovery. The bookings we see are for November onward. We do have the early makings of a winter of recovery. And so while we're not now earning money from travel because there's very little travel happening, you do need to stay with it now to sow the seeds for the eventual recovery. And what's fascinating to me is that this is happening somewhat organically. Our government hasn't said you will be able to travel. Restrictions will be lifted by October, November. We just talked about that a few minutes ago. They are playing it close to the vest because they are fearful of a third wave, of a fourth wave, and so on. But clearly the Canadian traveler is betting on being able to travel. They're betting on vaccinations, and they're betting on a loosening or a lifting of restrictions outright. And that is the most encouraging part of all this, that the market, as I say, is kind of naturally, organically come to this conclusion without edict from the government. So if you're on the sidelines, not actively pursuing this, you're missing out on market share, because there are bookings to be had for late 21 and certainly 2022. So I would encourage all of you to stay close to your customers. Yes, process the refunds. I know it's a lot of work between ourselves and Air Canada and perhaps others that may come online. But those are opportunities to get closer to customers and to book for future travel. Lord knows they're interested to travel. They booked with you once before. Why wouldn't they book with you again? So again, Catherine, I don't see a big, it's not like one Monday morning we're gonna turn on a switch. I think this is happening a bit at a time, day by day by day. So we need to keep at it, all of us, suppliers, retailers, help clients to make those bookings that we all need to restart the industry.
That's it's winter of recovery. I think that's your words that I'm going to keep in my head. Winter of recovery, because that's exactly what it will be. I think I agree, and that's certainly what we all hope for. And it's obviously going to be gradual, but it's coming.
Instead of our winter, winter of our discontent, it will. That's right. It will be winter of our recovery. Hey, how'd that? We coined it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. There you go. I feel like you should be on like the side of a car, a license plate or something. Winter of our recovery. Thank you so much, Joe. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, Joe. So now I will pass it over to Travelweek's Deputy Editor, Cindy Sosvertomo. Cindy?
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. I'm here now with Marcia Walden, CEO of Destination Canada. Hi, Marcia.
Hello, Cindy. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you for joining us. I want to start with domestic tourism. Destination Canada has said all throughout this pandemic that it'll be key to the industry's recovery. Now, can you tell us just how big of an impact will it be in 2021? And will it be enough to close the gap left by international visitors?
Well, yes, Cindy, as you said, it's going to be very, very critical that we have a strong summer. As everyone knows, we have a very seasonal business, and so we need to make sure we have the strongest possible return to travel this summer, and that will begin at a domestic level. We're not anticipating borders to open prior to the fall, and so we're really relying on Canadians this year to support their travel industry and to enjoy a great summer. In terms of its overall impact, it's enormous. Right now, we, of course, as Canada, have quite a travel deficit in that Canadians spend about $40 billion going to other countries every year, whereas foreign travelers only spend about $22 billion coming into our country. So if Canadians just, let's say, take 2/3 of what they would normally spend on their annual vacation budget in Canada this year, that would make an enormous difference to how our industry fares. It would add 150,000 more jobs. And who doesn't want a great summer in Canada?
That's definitely a huge impact. And, now that we know that Canadians will be traveling more within Canada this year, what's the likelihood, do you think, that they'll actually book these closer to home vacations with travel agents? Because as you know, typically Canadians who book travel within Canada tend to book on their own. What can Destination Canada do to sort of help travel agents stay top of mind during the booking process?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we will find a natural inclination, even within Canada, as we're seeing elsewhere in the world, that travelers need more reassurance nowadays than they used to about what's open, what the policies are around cancellation, and they're really looking for that expert guidance from travel agents to be able to provide that. Now, in the initial stages of what I'll call hyperlocal travel, where people might just be traveling within their own province or not too far from home, most Canadians will likely go to places they're somewhat familiar with. But as summer progresses, we're really hopeful that Canadians will take this opportunity to travel their country. It's probably the best year ever to see the country because we'll have it to ourselves. And that's where I think travel agents can really play an important role in reassuring travelers that we've got it covered.
Agents have been doing a great job so far, as I'm sure you're aware of. But, they also have the very tough job of staying on top of all these ever-changing rules and restrictions. Just last month, Ontario announced interprovincial restrictions, which obviously would make a huge impact on domestic tourism. What are Destination Canada's next steps now that these interprovincial restrictions are becoming a reality?
Well, I think we've seen throughout the past year that the circumstances in each province or territory varies quite a bit, and the more regionalized governments have responded accordingly. So depending on the health conditions in individual territories or provinces, different rules may apply. Now, Destination Canada has a very comprehensive description of what's in play or in place in each territory or province as things unfold. It's usually extremely up to date. So if travel agents are looking for more information about what may apply at a provincial or territorial level, they'll find good information there. Within individual cities, that gets a little more difficult, and that's where travel agents' expertise and understanding of what's happening in different parts of the country will be really helpful to Canadians.
I know that there's a lot of information happening this week right now as Destination Canada is hosting their big rendezvous marketplace. I know that's happening. Can you tell us what the key takeaways are this year, and how else is Destination Canada preparing tourism businesses for the influx of domestic tourists?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say over the past year, first of all, it's been such a challenging year for tourism businesses of every ilk and in every part of the country. And so, they've done enormous work to prepare themselves to be ready to host visitors with all the health and hygiene protocols and retraining staff. So we're in very good shape for being able to host once again, which I'm happy to see. But as we think about how travelers may experience our different offerings, associations have been extremely helpful to their individual members in crafting guidelines specifically for a sector. So, for instance, restaurants would have very different guidelines than ski hills. And so we see some really responsive ways that our industry has been able to tackle that. And I think Canadians, once restrictions are lifted, can travel with complete confidence in any part of this country.
Now, you mentioned that there are different rules and, health restrictions for all these different businesses. Do you think that there should be a standardized set of safety protocols that are easily monitored?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know that complete standardization would be helpful. I think what we have from our provincial health authorities and things like WorkSafe British Columbia and its equivalents in other provinces, it really outlines the principles that businesses should adhere to in terms of health and safety protocols and staff training, etc. But again, as I just said, it's the individual associations and their in-depth understanding of particular operations that helps to make customized protocols, in fact, safer than across-the-board protocols that may not truly understand the nuances of operating different things like an aircraft, for instance, versus a bus line versus a restaurant. So those associations have done a great job of that. And I've realized, Cindy, that I didn't really answer your question about Rendezvous Canada, and I would like to circle back to that if I could for a moment.
Of course, please.
Yeah, I got sidetracked by health and safety protocols, but truly we are hosting a major international event called Rendezvous Canada Plus. And the plus is to indicate that it's virtual this year. We've been doing this as an industry for, I think, around 40 years. And what it really does is bring the world's buyers, so major tour operators and other sort of bulk operators, and introduces them to the Canadian product that we have in every part of this country. So our sellers convene from every province and territory, and the buyers from the world come to meet, typically in a city somewhere in Canada, and then they do lots of FAM excursions to become more familiar with product. This year, it's a virtual format, and we're happy to say that attendance is stronger than ever, and there's enormous enthusiasm being shown by buyers for Canadian products. So we're sure that once restrictions start to lift, we will see a pretty strong return to travel to Canada. But of course, those restrictions are the all-important ones that we're waiting to learn more about.
I'm sure a lot of talk about trends is happening right now at Rendezvous. Can you tell us what key travel trends that you're seeing emerge as a result of this pandemic, and which destinations in Canada would you suggest that meet these trends?
Well, our global in-market representatives did a bit of an overview from each of the 8 countries that we're very active in and engaged with their local tour operators and travel agents to say, what are you seeing on the ground in that international market? And so there were a couple of key themes, of course, that emerged from no matter what country in the world you're talking about. There's some pretty core elements of what makes an inspiring travel destination these days. First of all, I think it goes without saying that a traveler wants to be reassured that health and safety protocols are top-notch. And I think we can say ours in Canada are first class, best in class, world class, whatever we want to describe it at. We've really gone to great lengths to make sure that we are ready to host. Secondly, we're seeing an interest in greener, wide open spaces, not surprisingly. Last summer we saw an enormous interest in camping and hiking and a lot of outdoor activities. And of course, health authorities are really encouraging those. And so people feel safe doing them. And I think we will see that continue this year. There isn't much different in terms of health situations this summer versus last, other than as human beings, we're all much more accustomed to dealing with this pandemic. So I think we'll continue to see people seek out those wide open spaces. And one of the great things I think Canada has to offer is its cities are very, very different from the rest of the world's cities. One might perhaps compare our cities more to the kinds of places you would see in New Zealand or Australia. But if you think about the world's biggest cities and how very densified and urban they are, Canada's cities are really constructed around the natural landscape. And so your ability to be in parks and experience nature and be on a canal or go down a river in the middle of a city is a remarkable opportunity here in Canada. So wide open spaces and fresh air and all those things applies whether you're in a city in Canada or out in the wilderness.
All good things for travel agents to keep in mind. Thank you for sharing that. I think we have time for one last question, Marcia. I want to get your opinion on vaccination passports. As you know, it's hugely trending right now, and for the most part, it's been well received by the travel industry. What's your stance, and do you think that they would be a necessary precaution for even interprovincial travel?
Well, Destination Canada as a Crown corporation wouldn't really take a stance on an issue like this, but what I can share is the way our government our Prime Minister in particular has spoken about this issue, and our Minister Melanie Joly was recently in discussions with the G20 nations about proof of vaccination or certification of vaccination. So I think it's very, very likely that Canada will have regime in place like that. I understand that our politicians are working very hard to find a way to harmonize this with other G7 nations so that first of all, it will speed processing. It will be highly reliable. And I think ultimately digitization of these kinds of credentials will help make the travel experience much more seamless and enjoyable. So I think we're very likely going to see something like this. I don't know any details, of course, but we'll see something come down the pipe over the course of the next few months. But I also know that most people are concerned that this not be a limitation to travel for those that are either unable to be vaccinated or choose not to be vaccinated, which luckily in Canada is a very small percentage of the total. But there needs to be a mechanism of rapid testing or shorter quarantine that will also allow non-vaccinated people to enter our country for travel reasons or essential travel reasons. So in general, we're supportive of anything that gets travel back on its feet quickly, and I know this is well in hand in government, and those discussions are underway.
Let's hope everything lines up by the time fall comes along, and hopefully summer will get some traction for sure. So thank you, Marcia, for all this great info. I know I certainly learned a lot. Hopefully everyone tuning in has as well. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Cindy. Nice to join you today.
Now let's go back to Catherine.
Hi, I'm here with Nino Montagnese. He, of course, is the Vice President of Air Canada Vacations. Thanks for joining us, Nino.
Thank you, and thank you for pronouncing my name perfectly.
No problem. I thought everybody knows you as Nino, and you need no introduction, but we'll go formal for this first mention. I want to jump in first off, of course, that Air Canada and Air Canada Vacations announced their refunds. They announced it in the middle of April, and it was great news. And I have to say that when the word came in that Air Canada was offering refunds, and of course it was also protecting agent commission, a lot of emails that I got in that intervening a few hours was what's happening with ACV in a good way, because so many agents sell Air Canada Vacations. They love the brand, and they just wanted to know if ACV is also doing refunds and protecting commission, which of course you were. Can you just share with us sort of how that refunds process is going, and anything you want to let agents know as it's going ahead?
Sure. Well, first of all, we definitely, soon as the discussions started to approach Air Canada and Air Canada Vacations, we were at the forefront of being able to pay commissions to our partners. It was never a question of not being able to protect the commissions. And I can tell you that, today it looks as though we're pretty well down that road. There's probably about 40% of customers who have requested refunds. But I have to tell you that the feedback from the trade as well as the consumers has been very positive, very, very positive. We're hearing a lot back from our trade partners. And as you know, or you would know, the bulk of our business comes through our trade partners. So, we've had to adapt the FAQs over the last little while to accommodate, but feedback has been very good.
That's amazing. That's fantastic news. I just wanted to know, in terms of the number of refunds coming in versus future travel credits that people are hanging on to their FTCs, are you surprised by the number of people or the percentage of people who are hanging on to their FTCs?
Yeah, as I said, it's actually interesting. We're at probably about 40% of requests that have come in. 40%. Yeah, 40% of the requests have come in. So there's still about 60% of the population that are sitting on future travel credits. And no, it doesn't surprise me. Look, we've all been sort of stuck at home, not able to travel, and we're just waiting to get away. So, there's a big opportunity for our trade partners to hang on to those bookings. But basically, there's this pent-up demand. I mean, we keep hearing about revenge travel. Well, I tell you, as soon as we can travel, we definitely will, and I'm sure that our trade partners will win from that.
That's, it is amazing because so many people, obviously refunds were such a hot button issue for, throughout this entire pandemic when people weren't worried about everything else. But it is very telling to me that only 40% of the requests have come in. So, obviously there were a lot of people who wanted the refunds, but there's even more who are equally happy with their future travel credit. With the June 12th deadline coming up quickly, is that something that, that's actually just a matter of, about a month away or so. Is that something that, I know it's quite a hard deadline in terms of agents needing to tell their clients, June 12th, you need to get your refund request in. Is ACV doing anything to sort of help agents get that message across that is quite a hard deadline?
Yes, actually, you'll find that there will be a lot of communication, not only from Air Canada Vacations, but also from Air Canada, out to the consumer, advising them that the June 12th deadline is near. But I got to tell you, our trade partners have done a phenomenal job of requesting the refunds when a customer wants it. On our side, because over 80% of our business comes through our trade partners. So, we're going to continue to communicate to them, continue to send out our FAQs and any updates that we have. And we keep posting on our Facebook page, etc. So, as far as communication, those consumers who want a refund, they know, and it's merely just making sure that they know that we advise them that they have to do it by the 12th of June. I don't see a problem though.
Okay, it's the company. As the company, you've done everything that you can to get that message out there, and it's up to the the travelers. And as you said, I think a lot of them are hanging on to the FTCs because they want to take that vacation. So, can you talk a bit about? Obviously, nobody knows when the travel restrictions were lifted, and we all wish we had the crystal ball, and we're all just sort of staying in limbo. But of course, as a company, as a tour operator, you have to plan both for summer product and also further ahead to winter sun for 2021-22. I assume that 2021-22 would be a little bit easier because, you know, we all had the assumption that winter sun programs could start by then. But how is ACV approaching this summer?
Yeah, you know, and again, it's difficult because you just don't know what the government is going to come out with. And right now, you know, we know that there's these restrictions in place. But you know, if you look back to months and months ago when we began flying again, you know, I remember sitting with the team and saying, look, you know, we have to draw a line in the sand and make a decision here. Either we're going to do this or not. And it's similar. You know, the difference now is that the first time around, we had to spend a lot of time demonstrating the health and safety protocols that were being put in place. And this time, they're already there. So, you know, we are focusing on the latter part of the summer. We're focusing on, you know, Q4 and Q1. And so far, it looks good. So we will begin flying towards the middle to end of June, as planned.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to, you know, I didn't want to, things can change so quickly, but that's great news about June. So we'll, everyone looks forward to seeing the planes in the air again to multiple destinations. Can you also talk a bit about just the volume of forward bookings you're seeing for sort of the, you know, fall winter period? Are you seeing, you know, is there a sense of optimism with the forward booking volume?
Absolutely, and it's why I mentioned that the future travel credits are being held on to. You know, the consumers are starting to use them for their future bookings, and you know, we are seeing. It's funny. Just prior to this last lockdown and these restrictions, even, you know, Q4 was you know, well ahead of, you know, 2019, and then that sort of slowed right down. But the pent-up demand for Q1 is there. We're seeing it, and I'll tell you, our trade partners can tell us better than I can, because they're booking through our partners. So yes, it's there, and it's coming across all product lines. So, you know, we should take advantage of that as an industry.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Whenever I'm in touch with agents all the time, and it's always, as much as the situation in the here and now is very concerning with the federal government's you know, financial aid programs winding down, the forward bookings are actually quite good, and you know, for things like cruise and you know, all sorts of product that maybe the average person would think, oh, people aren't going to book that yet. Oh, yes, they are. And that, you know, as you mentioned, revenge travel, people are, you know, they're ready, and they've got some money saved too for a lot of people, not everyone, but there is a sizable amount of the population that is sitting on a decent amount of money, and they want to spend it on travel. So they might go to Europe. I know that you guys just launched a new digital platform for Europe. Is that something that, do you see Europe as being a key component to the recovery?
Definitely, I do. And as you said, you know, there's a lot of people who the pandemic didn't affect. They continued to work, but they couldn't spend their money. So yes, there are consumers that are sitting on funds, and they're going to use it to travel as soon as they can. Our model with Europe, we came out with the digital platform. We didn't find that it was necessary to print a brochure for Europe, just because of the situation that we're all in. A lot of our partners are still working from home. Trying to get the brochures to them would have been a little crazy. But that digital platform, we believe, is going to inspire the consumer to go away. And what we did with that platform is we created it so that it's got all the content in it. Our partners can send that to their consumers. And the call to action's always back to our trade partners. And it's funny, because when we were creating it, the number one item in my mind was, what's this going to look like for our trade partners? Because I don't want to create a platform that pulls the customer back to our website and potentially away from our partners. So you'll find there's actually two versions of it, one for our trade partners, and then one that is off of our website that if a consumer chooses to book directly, then they can. But again, it's based around our trade partners.
That's amazing, because I know that obviously travel agents, they already know how important they are. The tour operators already know how important travel agents are. And now finally, because of the pandemic, it's been the one silver lining, that the consumers are realizing, or even more than they already did, how important travel agents are. And as you said, I mean, if 80% of your volume comes through the trade and through travel agents, I mean, it's to keep them top of mind. It's part of your sound business strategy, and it just makes sense. With agents, in terms of they may be looking for trends, post-pandemic trends, what sort of things is ACV, sort of thinking might be trending after we can travel the way we really want to?
Okay. So most definitely it's going to start off with domestic, similar to the last time round. It's definitely going to be domestic, and we've added a lot of new domestic product like the RV experiences, etc. But following that, we talked about this disposable income that some of them have. They are looking at upgrading. They're looking at luxury products. They're looking at those private transfers. So definitely, and I will always say, don't be shy to offer an upgrade. Don't be shy to upsell or cross-sell to something that is going to be better suited for your customer. And then multi-generational travel. We're seeing, look, we've all been stuck in our homes. Very little interaction with our family, very little interaction with our friends. And so what's happening is we're finding, friends and family are talking about going away, and why not go away together and spend a week away in a destination. So we're seeing a lot of group business come in, and we're trying to make sure that we can facilitate group bookings and group quotes as quickly as possible for our partners. So it really is that domestic, luxury, group travel. And then, we talk about, earlier I said all the product lines are really selling. Cruise, it's doing extremely well into 2022, extremely well. Cruise bookings, again, people getting together and going away on a cruise. So yes, that would be the order for me.
Okay. So that's good to know. And I know the cruise lines have said, of course, with all the CDC requirements, they're going to be the safest places in terms of COVID on Earth, because the requirements from the CDC are off the charts. But we just need to wrap up. But I just wanted to have one last quick question. What's your message for travel agents?
I would say, it's been a tough year and a bit now. We've all endured this together. I kept hearing, we're in this together. All I want to say is we're going to get out of this together. Let's rebuild our industry, but we have to do it together. We can't do it individually. We have to do it together, and we have to be willing to give and take on both sides. And there's a huge opportunity just around the corner. So let's make sure we take it. And I hope that one day soon we'll be able to celebrate in the same room together all the wins that are coming towards us.
So it's so down to earth, realistic, common sense, and inspirational. It's all the good things all wrapped up in one message. Thank you so much, Nino. It was great to talk to you.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nino. So we're going to turn now to just some great inspirational videos. Speaking of inspiration, some inspirational videos of some sun destinations in the Caribbean that you and your clients will no doubt want to head to when we're all able to travel again safely.
We've been apart for a short while, but now the time has come when you can join us again in our little slice of paradise. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique has always provided a relaxing, rejuvenating, and authentic experience, and that hasn't changed. You can look forward to the same amazing experience while we strengthen our already high health protocols to give you peace of mind while you are with us. So come visit us. We await you with open hearts and spirits, filled with that warm, unique Grenadian hospitality. rediscover an island filled with adventure, charm, and magic. Pure Grenada, just for you.
As we prepare to welcome our extended family back to these warm, sunny shores, we of course have to take the time to reflect on the challenges of these past few months. While the pandemic indeed tested us in many ways, we are proud of the way this country has weathered the storm. With the empathy, grace, and kindness that we have long been known for. And though our tourism industry was a major casualty of this pandemic, our compassion has continued to shine through. From offering refuge to stranded cruise ships to providing a safe haven to passengers stuck in transit, Barbados has never stopped being a home away from home. In the same way crystal clear seas and skies are a part of the Barbados brand, offering community and friendship with all who grace our shores is part of who we are. Now we are excited to open the doors of our little island home once again to both familiar travelers and new guests. You'll find Barbados is both exactly the same, but in many ways changed. We are more resilient.
Don't those islands and all that turquoise water look absolutely amazing? I just can't wait to go again. Okay, now we have prize time. So there's a chat box, and if you hear your name called, you're going to make yourself known in the chat box, and then my colleague is going to make sure you get your prize. So first we have a JBL speaker, and that is going to go to Heidi Hivnik, and she's with Voyage and Travel. Congratulations, Heidi. Make yourself known in the chat box, please. Next, we have a Samsung TV, and the Samsung TV is going to go to Pam DeHaan. Congrats, Pam. You're with tripcentral.ca, so make yourself known in the chat box. And the final prize is going to be an $100 Amazon gift card, and that is going to go to John Kamal, and he's with Expedia Cruises. So again, make yourself known. Congratulations to everyone. We are going to be doing 2 more rounds of prizings throughout the show, including a $500 Visa gift card way at the end. So please stay. Up next, we have a very important guest, Gustavo Segura, the Minister of Tourism of Costa Rica. Hello, Minister.
Hello, Devin. Hello, and thank you very much for inviting me today to speak to Travel Week. And hello to everyone listening to us this day, especially travel advisors and travel professionals. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I love Costa Rica. I've spent a lot of time there myself. Can you paint a picture for our viewers? What is Costa Rica actually like?
Thank you, Devin, for that introduction. I love Costa Rica as well. It's my favorite topic in life. Costa Rica is a year-round destination that I think it truly inspires the person, the traveler, to reconnect with nature, reconnect with yourself, and with one's community to discover what is most essential in life. As we say here in Costa Rica, and you know this, pura vida. That means full of life, and it summarizes our approach to living. We're so lucky to have abundant natural spaces that are unique in this world, from lush green rainforests teeming with unique wildlife to dark sand beaches and a tourism industry that truly provides a wide range of accommodation styles for different traveler needs.
Yes, I agree. The monkeys are so fun and the beaches are so fabulous. And I just find that there's something for every style of traveler. Unfortunately, we are in the middle of a global pandemic. So turning to that quickly, I know setting policy for this type of happening is very difficult. I believe Costa Rica first required testing to enter the country, and then that was changed. Can you take us through the journey of what's been happening since March 2020 in regards to tourism policy?
Absolutely, yes. And like you say, unfortunately, this conversation needs to happen in that context. But let me start by saying that Costa Rica has a very, very strong health system. And among all the bad news, the good news is that Costa Rica was able to postpone the community transmission phase by almost 5 months. So between March 2020 and June, the country was able to develop very strict protocols of COVID prevention. So when we decided to open our international borders, that was back in August 1st of 2020, we had two requirements. First, proof of a PCR negative test, and then an insurance requirement. What happened was that in the months of August, September, and October, we opened gradually to travelers from Canada and travelers from Europe, and we only had 15,000 visitors. That's very few to reactivate the industry. But when you take into account 15,000 travelers is a very important number when you look at it from what happened to those 15,000 travelers. And the wonderful news is that we had zero cases of infection among those travelers. Now, the tourism industry is critical for the social progress of Costa Rica. So, knowing that our protocols were very well implemented, we made a very, very blunt decision. On November 1st, we opened our international airspace to all airlines and we eliminated the PCR test requirement following the Pan American Health Organization's recommendations that these tests can lead to a false sense of security. What's better news? The better news is that this allowed us to facilitate the return of airlines to Costa Rica. And between that time and now, we've had, approximately 400,000 international travelers, and we have less than 0.5% reported positive cases of COVID amongst international travelers. So we need to support easy access to Costa Rica by tourists because this industry is essential to our social progress. Of course, we're constantly monitoring the situation. We use data, we use research and science to make our decisions between the health authorities and the tourism authorities.
Wow, that's quite an accomplishment, keeping a cap on all the cases so well. And there are people that are looking for places to go, so making it as easy as possible does help. So can you just reiterate and tell us exactly what are the entry requirements right now if someone was to get on a plane and arrive, next week?
Great, that's wonderful. While travelers don't need to present a negative COVID test, either PCR or antigen test right now, or they don't need to quarantine, um, you know, by requisite, they do need to complete a health form, which is an easy electronic health form, and show proof of travel insurance. Travel insurance that covers medical assistance in case of COVID and lodging expenses should a quarantine be required in case of positive results associated with COVID. And of course, it is recommended that all travelers continue to use caution while in Costa Rica. You avoid crowded areas. We really don't have crowded areas in the country, but a common sense measure, of course, is to avoid crowds, maintain 6 feet distance from those who are not in your bubble, and of course, anyone with potential symptoms such as fever or cough or sore throat, then you should truly think twice about traveling internationally. We recommend travel advisors to continually check our website, visit costarica.com, because we're constantly providing information there about our requirements. But to be very specific, it's very easy. You fill out an electronic health form, and you show proof of your insurance electronically, and we welcome with open arms to Costa Rica.
Yes, I think what actually does make Costa Rica a great option for when tourism really does start to rebound is the fact that everything is open air. A lot of the restaurants are open air, and the hotels have a lot of open air areas. And of course, a lot of the activities that people are doing are being out in nature, in very, very small groups anyways. Let's take a turn and move away from the pandemic and talk about Costa Rica and how it's an eco-adventure destination. I know the government has done a lot to protect the wildlife and the environment. Can you let me know what are you most proud of?
That's a beautiful question. Well, let me start by placing tourism in its rightfully place. Tourism is one of the most important engines for our local economy. Tourism makes up 8.2% of the country's gross domestic product, and it provides more than 600,000 direct and indirect work positions. So, for this reason, it is very important that we protect the industry because it is crucial to social progress. And like you say, we pride ourselves in having developed the industry as an truly eco-based experience for the traveler. There are many examples of those, but uh, we have some programs to support not only the positioning that we have as a destination, but actually the fact of how things work in the country. Let me just mention a couple of programs. For instance, we have a program called Blue Flag Ecological Program. This program is designed to protect the country's coastal ecosystem. The program awards beach and coastal communities based on strict criteria, which rates ocean quality, coastal sanitation, environmental education, and more. Today, over 130 of our beaches in the country have this prestigious certification, and you can see the flags proudly waving right there on the premises. On the other hand, there are so many organizations and communities whose sustainability and conservation initiatives we're proud of, but there's one that I would like to point out. This year, the country's forestry sector, with the support of the Tourism Board, launched a carbon footprint calculator. And this was launched to encourage travelers to reduce and offset their carbon footprint from travel. So, thanks to the National Forestry Financing Fund, the amount of forest cover in Costa Rica has nearly doubled since 1980. So, the program supports the country's ecotourism efforts, and as far as we know, it is the first travel offsetting calculator of its kind. We're excited for this program, and we know that it has a lot of potential good impact on the forestry levels that the country has, and most importantly, the traveler's mindset about travel. So, if only let's say 10% of our visitors offset their travel with this tool, we could plant more than 1.5 million trees in the country. And then to mention a third program, uh, very recently in February, our national parks became plastic free. So materials such as straws, food containers, bottles, and more are not allowed into the national parks. You cannot go into the parks bringing those items. So by following these guidelines in our national parks, visitors are actually helping us address one of the largest drivers of biodiversity loss in the world. So those are a few examples that I can mention. And when you think what the experience is like in Costa Rica, along with those programs, we're aligning the guest experience with the guest actions. Many of our country's experiences and accommodations are found in nature, where there is fresh air and you can be physically distant. So these experiences, such as hiking, being at the beach, um, being on hanging bridges, zip lining, wildlife refuges, etc., align perfectly with the programs that I just mentioned.
Yes, I did see this incredible map online, and it actually showed how Costa Rica had been regrowing the rainforest since the 80s, and the actual forested area was just getting bigger and bigger over time. So, congratulations on that. Maybe we can turn to the hotels, which will definitely be of interest to the travel agents. Do you have some kind of sustainability rating system that you're working on?
Yes, that's thank you very much for this question, because one of the programs that we take most pride with is our CST, which stands for Certification for Sustainable Tourism. This program actually was established back in 1997 by the organization that I preside over, the Costa Rica Tourism Board, and it recognizes and rewards tourism companies that comply with a sustainable model of resource management. So under this CST program, not only hotels, mostly hotels, but also restaurants, tour operators, and rental car companies across the country can demonstrate their commitment to sustainability. And today, more than 400 companies are members of this program. So this program is managed from the tourism board. Uh, we're constantly promoting it throughout the industry. But again, when you see a company that has the CST um, sign on, you know that there is a very strict resource management program going on in that hotel or in that tour operating company.
That's really important. I think more people are concerned about their footprint, and making it really easy for travel agents to know what companies are doing behind the scenes is great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm going to ask you one final question. I would like you to really inspire all the people that have been stuck at home this winter during this pandemic. Paint us a picture. What awaits them in Costa Rica?
Well, thank you for this question. And the situation that this global community has been in has meant lockdowns. We've had to basically lock ourselves in our homes, and this has really brought to a level of importance that should always be there. What are we doing with what's essential in life for us? Are we taking good care of ourselves? Are we eating healthy? Are we taking care of the relationships with our loved ones, with our family, our spouses, our parents, our children, our friends? So here in Costa Rica, we want to provide the world with a sanctuary for well-being, an opportunity to reconnect. And of course, this means reconnecting with nature. We have 30 national parks, unique wildlife. 26% of our territory is under some form of protection. But when you come to Costa Rica, that biodiversity base helps you really go beyond nature and truly finding yourself again connected. So Costa Rica right now is offering the opportunity for those who have been, in this terrible lockdown situation, to come here, have a wonderful experience reconnecting with nature, but also reconnecting with what is truly essential to each one of us. So I would like to invite travel advisors to visit, our tools. There's a Travelweek Learning Center, for instance, in Canada, where you can learn not only the activities, the wildlife, and the cultural opportunities that present themselves in Costa Rica, but also the logistics and how to best advise travelers to come to Costa Rica and make the best use of their time. I actually think that there has never been a more important time for travel advisors to be there helping the guests. This pandemic situation has especially shown us how important a travel advisor is when it comes to designing the perfect experience for the client. So thank you, travel advisors, for the work that you do. And please consider Costa Rica to help your clients not just have a wonderful vacation, but to help your clients, have a better life, have a better experience, and truly reconnecting with what is essential to them.
That certainly was inspirational. I think I might come to Costa Rica again very soon myself. Thank you, Minister, for being here today. We really appreciate it. And now we're on to a quick video from WestJet.
Thank you very much.
At WestJet, we believe that we can go further together. In today's climate, that means working together to make sure we can all travel safely. Since the onset of the COVID crisis, our teams have been working around the clock to develop and implement new procedures and cleaning protocols to keep you and our crews safe. And this work will continue to evolve. When you're ready to travel again, know that we will be ready too. On behalf of all of us at WestJet, take care and stay well.
Hi, everyone. I'm back with Brad Ford, President of Insight Vacations and Luxury Gold. Welcome, Brad. It's good to see you again.
Hi, Cindy. So great to see you, and hello to everybody in the audience.
Now, can you start by telling everyone what's the current status of operations? Have Insight and Luxury Gold resumed operations?
Yep, we're happy to report that indeed we've started operations again. It started in Egypt and Australia. Just recently, we started our local journeys in the United States, and we're just waiting to get more destinations opening up as we send our travelers away happily and ready to explore.
Great to hear. Of course, Europe is a huge market for you guys. And, there's been talk that Europe could potentially reopen to fully vaccinated travelers by summer. This would be great news for you, obviously. Based on this and Canada's ramped up vaccination efforts, what's your forecast for the summer, even with Canada's travel restrictions still in place?
Cindy, we're cautiously optimistic, and with the vaccine distributions now really quite strong in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, parts of Europe, and even to our neighbors in the south in the United States, we certainly hope that we'll see a broader travel opportunity for Canadians soon. We've definitely seen the mood shift over the last 6 weeks as our own vaccination efforts begin to give more consumer optimism and confidence.
So hypothetically speaking, let's assume that Europe does reopen again to Canadians this summer. How will the brands approach which destinations to resume operations in? Will it be a case-by-case sort of situation, or will it be, the floodgates open and you guys head back into every country?
Well, let's keep in mind that within the Travel Corporation, we have more than 40 brands around the world. And also keeping in mind that we have trips in countries all over the world. We'll continue to monitor the developments in each country as we can, of course, and with the cooperation of the WTTC and WHO and all the local authorities, we'll definitely determine how best to proceed country by country. But first and foremost, we only operate in the countries and in the destinations where we can give the very best guest experience, whether that be with well-being or with sightseeing or those local connections that we're known for.
It must be so difficult to, as a tour operator, plan around all these restrictions. And, obviously Canada has among the most stringent restrictions in the world. And that includes pre-arrival testing prior to coming back home for Canadians. So can you tell us, how will Insight and Luxury Gold accommodate these Canadians who need to take a PCR test before coming back home to Canada?
Well, look, we're absolutely encouraged and looking forward to our favorite travel destinations opening up to our travelers. But to be honest with you, we believe it's way too early to prognosticate as to how to accommodate Canadians returning home at this time. Airlines, destinations, governments, our own government will have to establish what they need from us to travel and to enter and exit the countries. The CDC in the USA has just revised their mask protocols, and we're seeing things shifting from day to day. And even the new protocols for the massive cruise ship industry, still fluid. And I think, the best way that we can approach this whole endeavor is to think of how we can best accommodate Canadian travelers when the time is right again. But I don't think really at this time it's appropriate, only in that I think it would be more of a PR opportunity. There's no scientific basis to making that decision right at this time.
Okay, good to know. And it might be too early to ask you now about this. Proof of vaccination, obviously a key buzzword in the industry right now. And we're seeing a lot of cruise lines come forward with this new requirement. Do you think this is something that tour operators, including the Travel Corporation, will implement?
I'll tell you what, if the governing bodies in the science table make the recommendation, then I'm sure the Travel Corporation would, of course, comply. And while we're looking at all possibilities, we just haven't had the necessary requirements outlined yet by the national or global authorities. But we'll move very quickly once this has occurred, and we'll ensure that we're ready for all challenges and opportunities as they arise.
Good to know. So let's pivot and talk about groups. Groups is big business. There's all this talk about how groups will boom after the pandemic because everyone's looking to, stay within their social bubbles. How are Luxury Gold and Insight preparing for this anticipated demand for groups?
We've had quite a bit of time to think about this, as we all have over these last 14 months. And we've implemented some wonderful enhancements to our group sizes, and all TTC brands now have smaller group size options available. To complement the Insight Vacations and Luxury Gold offerings, we've also made some changes. So for Insight Vacations, of course, we have the classic group size, which is the maximum of 40 travelers. We've introduced a smaller group size, which is a maximum of 24 travelers. And for Luxury Gold, starting in 2022, we're 24 passenger maximum only, which is super exciting. And even in destinations like Africa and Asia, we have even smaller groups. Our research and development teams have also determined, along with the research, that travel bubbles are super popular, that they'll want to travel with other Canadians and perhaps with their friends and family that they haven't seen for a little while. And so we're also making our scheduled journeys available for private takeover as few as 12 passengers. So now's the time, Cindy. Let's round up our friends and family and let's get back out there. We've also enhanced our groups department, and we've made this a TTC groups department now, so we can handle requests, all sorts of cross multi-generational requests, whether they be special interest requests, whatever the case may be. And we've also opened up something that's really interesting and something that we'll want to chat about further, and we will over the years to come, is that within the 40 brands of the Travel Corporation, of course, we have our own global DMCs that operate for all of our escorted journeys around the world. So we're going to open those up for our travel advisors as well, knowing that there have been big changes in destination for their own DMCs.
I'm definitely one of those people who can't wait to book with family and friends. So count me in. We all know that there's this pent-up demand, and yet there will be a limited supply of products and tours, at least at first, as the world gradually reopens again. Do you think that tour prices will go up as a result of this?
It's a great question, Cindy. And anyone who's taken a trip to the grocery store or ordered groceries online to be delivered will know that the price of goods and services has certainly gone up over the last 14 months. Now, we anticipate that we can expect higher prices, of course, for all of our goods and services in destination. But we've slowly introduced dynamic pricing. And one of the ways that we're going to get around this whole conversation is give our travelers and, of course, our travel advisors who are sending their guests on our journeys the opportunity to book early. Because with dynamic pricing, the earlier you book, of course, you'll get a better price and a better selection. And as you get further down the line, the selection will start to diminish. And of course, the yield and demand will be increased. So it kind of gives a bit more of a sense of urgency for everyone to get on 2022 and 2023 trips now.
It's really good to know. That's a great tip. And though travel is gradually resuming, there's still a lot of uncertainty among travelers, with pricing, with dates. They just don't know when or how to travel anymore. So what kind of flexible options are both of your brands providing so that travelers can feel better about booking future travel now?
Well, first and foremost, I think one of the the great innovations that the Travel Corporation has brought to the travel industry and has really led in this discussion is establishing a well-being director to be on every journey. So for us, the conversation started with that feeling of how can we further increase confidence and that sense that everyone's well-being will be at the center of everything that happens on a journey. With that, of course, we've now also established a couple of confidence policies for booking. New bookings can cancel for any reason within 30 days of the journey. And we also invite people to take a risk-free deposit. And that deposit, of course, can shift to any departure within 30 days of departure, as well as be applied to a future travel credit in the future for years to come, should you want to go on a journey even at a later time.
I'm sure all of that will help travel agents sell for sure. So, final question, Brad. We all just celebrated Travel Agent Day a couple weeks ago. What's your message to travel agents and how are the brands supporting them at this time?
Listen, I would say first and foremost, we are sold through travel advisors, and you are the lifeblood of our organizations across the Travel Corporation. We extend our sincere thanks to you, and we appreciate so much your support and your partnership. And more than that, we know that you have done everything beyond and above your remit to really make sure that we've been able to secure our future travels for 2022 and 2023 and to give confidence to all of your guests and clients and travelers. So we say thank you, and we continue to rebuild our business with you and to support you in any way that we can.
I know many agents are watching right now, so thank you for your encouragement and your positivity. It's always a pleasure catching up with you, Brad, so thank you for being here.
Likewise. Thank you, Cindy, and thank you to everyone in the audience. Appreciate it.
Now, here's a quick video from Insight and from the Travel Corporation's other brands.
I'm here with Chris Thompson, who is the CEO of Brand USA. Welcome, Chris.
Hey there. Glad to be with you.
Glad to have you. Really glad to have you. We are so envious of our vaccination rollout is going fairly well here in Canada, and it's really picking up the pace in recent weeks. But in the US, you guys have done an incredible job with your vaccination rollout. And just wanted to know, what's the mood in the US right now? And specifically, what's the mood in the travel and tourism sector?
So I'd have to agree with you as I look around the world, and I think we always have to be reminded that this is a world pandemic, so it's impacting the entire world. And the number one priority for all of us is to get on top of it as best we can within our borders. And then, of course, pulling for everybody around the world and all the governments, all the health officials to be able to get on top of it within each of the respective countries around the world. So as we're sitting here today in May, I'd have to say that we're as optimistic as we've ever been. And I'd say even in the last couple months, the optimism has increased. And first and foremost, it would have to be attributed to here in the US, our ability to roll out and then deploy the vaccines. I think even in everybody's most optimistic forecasts, it's got to be going better than anybody here would have thought. And I think that's a big part of it. And as we all well know, here in the US and around the world, our industry, the hospitality industry as a whole, has been disproportionately affected. And I don't think there's any greater measure of that than how it's affected jobs disproportionately within our sector against all jobs that have been lost, spend within our sector against all the spend. And I also often tell everybody that if there's a silver lining among a bunch of bad news and tragic news, the focus on our sector and the fact that not only its economic contributions, but it is truly the fabric of what makes up our individual towns and cities that we live in, the states and provinces that we live in, and the country that we live in. Certainly that has gained even a greater focus. And since our industry was brought to our knees, our government and the relief packages that have been delivered across several different bills and some still to be talked about have certainly helped our sector to recover and otherwise cope. And then I would say the last thing is that now that there has been the deployment of the vaccines, as people are either fully vaccinated or once the first of 2 doses, I think, and as we now see some of our cities and our states opening up in ways they hadn't been over the last year, the return of our domestic tourism has been more robust than I think anybody could have anticipated. So I think the combination of all three has had us be very optimistic within our sector and here in our country as it relates to our ability to get on top of this pandemic first and foremost and get back to whatever the next normal looks like. I don't use new normal because it's already overused and it's still being defined. So I'm borrowing it from somewhere that I got it calling it next normal, and it's still being defined. Okay. And we look forward to getting along that path as soon as we can.
We'll take next normal because I know you're right. There's some phrases that everybody is just, they don't want to hear them anymore. So we'll go with next normal. That sounds good. And you're right, with domestic tourism, it's incredible. Once, obviously there are still some international destinations that Americans are traveling to, but when you've got hundreds of millions of Americans suddenly traveling in their own country, that's a lot of people traveling in one country. So as you said, no wonder it's going so well. Now, of course, the Canada-US border is closed still until May 21st, and nobody knows when it'll reopen. And I know that the brand USA, as much as us here on this side of the border, really want it to reopen, but we want it to be at the right time. I don't suppose you've heard any indication when it'll open, but in lieu of that information, just how important is Canada to the US for tourism?
So Canada, we share the largest border. Certainly as far as our visitation goes, I think in 2019, which would be the last year that we had normal visitation, I think we welcomed a little over 20 million Canadians that spent a little over $20 billion. So it's a significant market. In volume, it's the number one market. And so our return to some semblance of normal as it relates to welcoming our friends and visitors around the world, Canada is a big critical part of that. As we look toward markets that have the potential to return to some semblance of normal, meaning borders opening and then travel back and forth resuming, Canada is certainly in the earliest phase of any consideration that we might have. We do understand that the borders being open is entirely dependent upon geopolitical conversations going on between our two governments. I think that the optimism towards Canada would probably have to be that we probably have the greatest relationship across borders with Canada as anybody. I think, we have shared our cultures and our ways of living and our destinations with each other for many, many years. So I think as with more so probably than with any other market, we're as comfortable with Canada as anywhere. So I'd like to think that's going to help the geopolitical conversations. And when it's safe, when it's the right time, I think our governments it's a high priority for both of us to try to get this Canadian border open.
You're right, for sure. And I know that just because they're not talking about it with the public doesn't mean that there's not negotiations going on behind the scenes. And you're right. I mean, they know, everybody knows, the government certainly knows on both sides how important the border is. And there was some talk, I know our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has been asked about, vaccination certificates, and Canadians by and large from the polls that I've seen are fairly on board with the idea of a vaccine passport or a vaccine certificate for international travel. I know that, in the EU and Britain, they're also interested, the G7 countries. I know the U.S. hasn't indicated necessarily that it wants to go that route, and I know you can't speak to the policy, but just for Brand USA, what's your take on the whole vaccine certificate kind of idea for international travel?
So as we look toward re-entering markets or any kind of recovery, whether it's our invitation to our friends and visitors to come back, certainly the number one priority is getting on top of the pandemic. Once we've done that both here in the US and in Canada, and conversations can be had about opening the borders, then we need connectivity. And certainly many of our visitors drive across the border, but still a good portion of them also fly. But in the end, all of that could be in place. But the most critical, important part is the consumer confidence. Our confidence that our friends and visitors from Canada will be able to experience a safe and healthy experience like they've known and loved or otherwise have been looking forward to discovering for the first time. So restoring that consumer confidence, gaining that consumer confidence, keeping that consumer confidence is going to be critical to our ability to be able to then welcome our guests back. So any sense of a big part of that is vaccines. I think once everybody's vaccinated, that's a game changer. And that has had to be the final piece in order for us to gain that confidence back. So the big question is, how do you prove it? And certainly all the conversations that are being had about passports, online, and any other way that can be proven is going to be critical to gaining that confidence. So our overall opinion about that is we're for it. We're for any way that that can be conveyed in the most expeditious and able to validated way that can be done, because that's going to be a critical part of gaining the confidence.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that, because I'm excited about the idea of vaccine certificates just for international travel. It's a thorny issue when you get into having to prove your vaccine status for other things domestically, but for international travel, to me, it just makes sense. And there's already a precedent in place. And as you said, it's anything that helps people feel better, more confident, and more secure about traveling is a good thing. So thank you very much for sharing that. I also wanted to get into a little bit, sort of jumping off from that. The Brand USA has had a challenging past few years. A lot of people, just for various reasons, sometimes political, haven't necessarily had the US at the top of their list. You've had a changing of the guard, and it seems that the US is poised for an incredible recovery for inbound travel. Is that your sense as well?
Oh, absolutely. I've had the privilege of being here at Brand USA for 9 of the going on 11 years that it's been in existence. And certainly over the course of that time, we've had lots of challenges. And a lot of those tend to be what define the USA brand, those 3 letters, which is one of the most powerful and compelling brands in the world. And it also, all of that, which is changes of administrations, anything related to what's happening here, which is similar, by the way, which is what's happening all over the world, is really what defines the destination. But here's what has always proven to be the case, is that travel, and the reason why people travel, has the ability to transcend any of that that's happening in the moment or in the day. And what travel is really all about in the end is about the destination as a whole and the destinations within the destinations, the diversity of those, the diversity of the experiences that you can have in those destinations, and the diversity of us as U.S. Citizens and as people. And that hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, even through the pandemic, a lot of that has gotten even better. And so what has people travel dreaming, what has had them come back and make us one of the most compelling destinations in the world really hasn't changed. Their ability to do so. And then the news of the day certainly plays a role in that. But in the end, for the reasons why they want to come here, it's as good as it's ever been. And so now we just look forward to getting beyond this generational crisis and then get back to doing what we have always enjoyed doing, which is enjoying each other's cultures, each other's countries, the experience we can have in each of our destinations. And then we can't wait to welcome our friends and visitors from the North back to all the things they love about what makes the USA the USA.
That's great. I mean, I have a trip planned to the US, and we go to Florida every couple of years, and we couldn't do it in 2020. And we can't wait. We honestly, as you said, I mean, the headlines are the headlines and the news is the news, but it's the actual people. And the US is an incredibly welcoming, wonderful destination. And I know so many Canadians are just so eager to get back. We're just going to wrap it up. Do you have a message that you want to share with your friends in the Canadian travel industry, the travel agents?
Yeah, the travel trade. So, a critical part, as I said, is gaining the consumer confidence. And there's not going to be any better source for that than the travel trade. Our tour operators, wholesalers, travel agents that facilitate travel to the United States. They've always been a critical part. But I think as we re-enter Canada, as we begin welcoming our friends and visitors to the North back, there's going to be a lot of questions that maybe weren't questions in the past. And it all has to do with travel policy, whether there's anything that has actually changed. That's changing as we speak, and certainly will change in the weeks and months ahead. And as importantly, things that haven't changed that may just be, what people perceive versus what is reality. And our ability to make use of those networks, the reach and relevance that the travel trade has with their clients, which, by the way, are our clients, is going to be a critical role in our ability to be able to welcome people back once we have a safe environment. And so we're looking forward to engaging with the travel trade. One of the ways we've been doing that is in our global marketplace. And we have an opportunity and an event coming up, which is a USA Training Day for the Canadian travel trade on June 24th. And so we'd welcome everybody's engagement on that platform as that resource is made available, and everything and all the tools and all the information that our friends would need to be that resource for us when we get back to it is ready there and waiting for them. We look forward to introducing them to it on that day.
Oh, that's great. Is that for the June 24th event? Is that something that agents can go to the Brand USA website? Will there be more? Is there more information there now, or is it coming?
Yeah. So if you go to the Brand USA website, there'll be information there that directs them to the global marketplace in general, and then how to participate in that event on that day.
Okay. Well, that's an excellent way to end the conversation. There's a call to action if I ever heard one. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So now we're going to turn to some messages from more of our friends in the US.
Welcome to Myrtle Beach. I'm in downtown Myrtle Beach in the Boardwalk area. This is Tourism Central, a hub of resorts, attractions, restaurants, and of course, amazing beach access. This is what is often thought of as Myrtle Beach, but when we talk about Myrtle Beach, we're talking about the stretch of beautiful coastline from the North Carolina border all the way down to Pawleys Island, South Carolina. Popularly known as the Grand Strand, the region includes 60 miles of wide sandy beaches and 14 communities, some of them inland, and each with their own history, vibe, and attractions. Few destinations offer such a wide variety of entertainment, amusements, and attractions. From the Skywheel to water parks, amusement parks, go-kart tracks, water sports, museums, 7 live theaters, and so much more, there's never a dull moment in Myrtle Beach, rain or shine. Remember that traveling these days requires some extra planning with a mind toward cleanliness and safety. Find healthy travel tips and more information at visitmyrtlebeach.com. There are a lot of beaches in the world, but only one is the beach, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
That was a great video. So many destinations to choose from for when the border reopens, hopefully soon. Now, let's move on to discuss the luxury market. Joining me now is Elaine Carnegie, president of CanLink. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing really well. Thank you.
Despite everything. So let's start with telling everyone which of your properties have already reopened their doors.
Pretty much all of our properties have reopened. I'll just run through them quickly with you, if you don't mind, just a little recap of the beautiful properties that we represent. In Antigua, we have Hermitage Bay, which is a beautiful luxury 30-suite, all-inclusive, adult-only, 16 and over welcome at Hermitage Bay. Also in Antigua, we have Carlisle Bay, which is great for either families or adults. We have 2 sides of buildings in that property. In Barbados, we have the beautiful Ocean Hotels Barbados. So there we have the South Beach Hotel, which is great accommodation with kitchens. A lot of people going to Barbados are looking for that for long stays. And they also have Seabreeze Beach House, an all-inclusive, and the beautiful O2 Beach Club and Spa, which is actually not open because it's brand new and opening September 1. So exciting to have that open September 1. In Grenada, we represent beautiful Spice Island Beach Resort, and that property reopens October 1. In Grenada, in Jamaica, we have 3 beautiful options there. So really lovely Jamaica Inn in Ocho Rios, boutique historic property, beautiful suites, 1 and 2 bedroom cottages, which people are looking for sure. Also Round Hill Hotel and Villas, which is a lovely property with oceanfront rooms, Ralph Lauren designed, stunning 1 and 2 bedroom villa suites and up to 5 bedroom villas. Also for villas, the Trial Club, which has stunning villas up to the size of 10 bedrooms if they're looking for that. That's Jamaica. And then in St. Lucia, we represent beautiful Anne's Chastenay and Jade Mountain Resort, definitely open. And in Turks and Caicos, we have Grace Bay Club, which is also open. 3 different hotel buildings, depending on what the client's looking for, and also some private villas. So of all of our collection, they are all open, have been for quite some time, except for Spice Island Beach Resort opening, as I said, October 1, and O2 Beach Club and Spa in Barbados opening September 1. So hopefully that is a little bit of a reminder of what we have and the fact that pretty much all are open and the rest will be by the fall.
That's all really great news, especially after so many months of closure. So can you tell us, of the properties that are already open, how are forward bookings? And are they operating at full capacity?
Forward bookings are really good. There are some dates, I will tell you, that some of the hotels are already full. Always, space to be had. Check with us to be sure, or your tour operators. I can tell you that some of the hotels are doing, most of them are doing really well for the summer and fall. I will say that those guests are mostly US clients, but Canadians are definitely booking for later in the year. and of course for next year, 2022, and also into 2023. So I just like to remind agents that, definitely people are inquiring now from Canada and booking now. I think because, we have, most of us had our first vaccine, are looking forward to the second, and hopefully when that happens, the quarantine will go away. And I think that's really got the Canadians thinking about the fact that they should be booking something soon, for sure.
I know we're all hoping for that day, for that quarantine to go away. Everyone knows, I know. Everyone knows the properties you represent are among the most luxurious in the world. Do you think luxury properties are better positioned to recover quicker than most?
I do, for sure. Mainly because if you think about, what's gone on in the last year and a half, people are really looking for privacy and safety and an amazing experience. So, they've always done well with a luxury client that's been looking for that, but now they're really focused on that more than ever. So the fact that we have in most of our hotels, it could be one hotel could be 30 suites, or one hotel could be 80 suites, or 100 and something. There's nothing that's super large. So although our room count and our suite numbers are on the smaller side, the space that they're experiencing in those properties is really, really large. And also the grounds and the area that they sit on. So all the guests are, really excited to book something in any luxury hotel that has a lot of space and an experience that they can completely enjoy and feel really, really safe. So I think for that reason that we're going to, we are already bouncing back very quickly, for sure.
Safety is definitely key right now. And, that's all certainly encouraging to hear, and also encouraging our reports coming from economists who found out that Canadians are sitting on approximately $100 billion on extra savings due to, being in lockdown for so long. Do you think that this will result in an increase in travel? In luxury travel, I should say.
Yeah, I definitely think so, for luxury travel, for the reasons that you mentioned. So the luxury traveler, as we know, still has their money to spend, and they want to spend it, and they want to spend it on travel. So number one, they want to book something as soon as they can and have that luxury experience. So for that reason, yes, they're going to spend their money on that. But number two, I think that the luxury traveler is also going to take more trips and also going to take longer trips. So that's another reason that spend is increasing. And they also want to, travel with other people. All of us, not just the luxury traveler, but all of us are really wanting to reconnect. I think that's what it's all about, is reconnecting with some relatives that you haven't seen for a long time, and friends that you haven't been able to have dinner with and have great conversations and do all the fun things that we're used to doing normally with our friends and family. So I think what the luxury traveler is now doing, what we're seeing, is that they're combining those things. They're wanting to get together with those friends and family, and they want to travel. So why not do that together at the same time? So I think for sure that's another reason that there's going to be this increase in the spend. And the other thing I'm finding, and we're talking to a lot of agents about, is the fact that we have the luxury traveler that we've always had, but I think this whole experience this last year and a half has created almost a new kind of client, the mid to high range client that maybe was waiting to do that kind of trip as a bucket list trip or visit one of our hotels, maybe for a special retirement or birthday, is now reconsidering that. They're thinking, I'm not going to wait anymore. I want to do this now. So let's talk to them now about, getting those bookings. And they're really seriously thinking about not putting off that luxury trip any longer. So that's another reason for the spend definitely to be increasing.
You mentioned all these new priorities that travelers are putting, top of mind. Now that health, safety, flexibility, privacy, family, and all that are now at the top of travelers' lists, booking travel has become a more white glove experience. Do you think travelers will be more inclined to book luxury with a travel agent now?
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. If I mean, many people do, as we know, but I think even more, if they haven't before, they're going to now. And I think the white glove experience sort of goes across the board and is connected with everybody. So I also think there's a whole new definition to that white glove experience. So no longer does it mean, you know, super fancy and all dressed up and all that. I think what it really means from the client's perspective when staying at a luxury hotel is that the white glove experience is now a personalized experience. It's a customized experience. And the hotels have so much to offer, and even more by being able to customize that experience to exactly what the client wants. So whether that be you know, specific dietary request or anything they want to do on property, they can communicate that to the agent who can then make that happen. And that's when I say they're connected, because I think that the travel agent, there's also an opportunity for them to personalize their information to their client. So their quote to their client can be very customized with, you know, answering specific questions that they've asked the client that they've got feedback on. So they can customize those responses and deliver exactly what their client is wanting with the customized experience. And that's where we come into play as well. So we always encourage the agents to use us no matter how you're booking our hotels, whether it be through a tour operator, through your GDS system direct. It doesn't matter to us as long as we can help you get the information. And the information we have on our hotels is kind of what you need to customize your responses to your client. And then it's customized even further once they reach the property. So it's kind of a good equation that it all goes together. The new white glove experience being customization and personalization for sure.
This entire year has shown that the role of travel agents has never been more important. You know, on top of all that, they also have to stay on top of travel requirements. Final question, Elaine. Let's pivot and talk about destination weddings, which I know is a huge market for your resorts. Have your properties seen any traction at all in destination weddings this year? And how are they approaching weddings in terms of health and safety now?
Well, I think that what's happening with weddings in general, as we all know, is that there's quite a few that have been postponed. So definitely those are already being booked for people playing catch up who maybe had to postpone their date from last year or earlier this year. So we do have a lot of our properties with weddings booked already for end of this year, as I mentioned, next year, and for sure for 2023. So what's interesting about our hotels is that because they're not a mass market hotel, the situation of a destination wedding, booking it and the wedding that's taking place on a particular day hasn't changed, because most of our hotels will only do one wedding a day. So again, very personalized. The attention is on that bride and groom that day, or in some cases, one a week. So no matter where they want to have that wedding on property, there is multiple different choices on where they can have it. Very safe, very private. They're not having to fight over space. That applies in restaurants, on the beach, wherever the case may be for wedding or reception. So, and again, I also find that some of the larger weddings that people might have been having, whether here locally or elsewhere, have maybe shrunk in size, again, because they've realized what's more important. They want to have a special group of people with them. So they're booking maybe smaller wedding groups, but again, in destination versus here. So, and the protocols on property are very, very detailed, whether that be for an individual or for a wedding. So, you know, very, very detailed practices and safety and privacy in that regard as well.
Truly a white glove experience, as you say. Love has not been canceled because of this pandemic. Good to know. So thank you so much, Elaine, for being here. All that was great information. Hopefully everyone learned something new today. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thanks. Lovely talking to you as always. And agents, please reach out to us for anything at all that we can help with.
Now let's go back to Devon for more prizes and important updates from Globus, Bahia Principe, and Royal Caribbean.
Hello, everyone. We're back for our second round of prizes. Again, make yourself known in the chat box if you hear your name. The first winner is Jane Mandick, and she's won an Instapot. Yay, congratulations. Those are amazing. I have one. And she's from Marlin Travel Peterborough. Our second winner is Lois Barber. Hi, Lois. I haven't seen you in a while. You are the winner of a Kindle e-reader. We're going to be doing one more round of prizing at the very end, and that's going to be a $500 Visa gift card, so you're going to want to stay around for that. Hello again, everybody. Now I have a very special guest. We are here today with Stephanie Bishop. She's the Managing Director of Globus Family of Brands. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Devin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now we know tourism has been down. What has Globus been doing with the downtime?
That's a great question. We've used this time out from travel to innovate and to bring something completely new to the touring category. So we recently introduced a concept called Choice Touring by Globus, and new touring style that really starts with fun, with flexible, and offers travelers the freedom to that they desire on a vacation. In addition to offering guided sightseeing tours at all the must-see sites, Choice Touring by Globus offers your choice excursions. So that's a selection of curated experiences included in the package price and key and also off the beaten path destinations. We're really excited.
I see. So more flexibility than traditional touring. Can you let me know what is the target market for this new product?
That's a great question. You know, travelers interested in immersive experiences, people going back to destinations for a second time, and or it's also great for those who might be new to touring, a potential younger demographic who can get energized by connecting to the places that they visit. And also, let's not forget our multi-generations. They're a huge potential. Their desire for choice and flexibility is even greater. So with 13 new choice touring itineraries, we do have 6 in North America and 7 in Europe. And so there really is something for everyone.
Yes, I think you're right. There's going to be big groups of family that are dying to go on a trip somewhere when we do get out of this pandemic. Can you maybe give us a taste into some of your favorite itineraries so we can get an example of how the day-to-day flows on some of these tours?
Absolutely. And I've chosen an itinerary actually here in Canada, so all of us Canadians can totally relate to what could be very different. So each tour will have 2 to 4 choices per day, with 2 to 3 choices on each for each excursion. So an amazing itinerary that starts actually in Toronto and goes through Kingston and the Thousand Islands and into the eastern townships of Quebec is particularly fascinating, particularly for myself, whom I'm actually originally from Quebec. So this tour has 3 choice days, and here are 2 of them. So on day 3, you could choose to stroll through Kingston on a walking tour for fascinating local insights and tales from its notorious penitentiary penned by Charles Dickens and Ernest Hemingway. Or you can pedal on a leisurely guided bike tour or delve into war stories at Fort Henry National Historic Site, which is, by the way, UNESCO World Heritage Site. On day 7, choose from a guided tour of the largest lavender farm in Canada, or taste the champagne of champagnes at this family vineyard, or take a 2-hour kayaking excursion on the beautiful Cherry River. So while this tour really starts in Toronto and finishes in Montreal, there's a lot of off the beaten path experiences and destinations within this traditional corridor, if you will.
Thank you. With all the amazing international destinations, sometimes we forget how lucky we are that there's so much to see in Canada. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all of the advisors there. I continue to be very impressed with the tenacity and the integrity and the commitment to a better tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to see a quick Globus video. Hello. Up next, we have Henry Perez. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing for Canada and the USA for Bahia Principe. Hi, Henry. Tell us what the status is of the Bahia resorts, please.
Hello, Devin. Great to be here. Thank you for having us today here. We are looking forward to moving ahead, coming out of this COVID situation. Just looking forward to welcoming clients back. We've had some more resorts have been reopened now. We've had 4 that have been reopened since back in July. The rest are coming online now. So we're looking forward to a great rest of 2021 and an amazing 2022.
We know that health and safety protocols are a hot topic these days. Can you let me know how your resorts are addressing these concerns?
Yes, as more time goes by, I speak less and less of COVID because we're getting through this thing, but I will touch on some of the things that we're currently still doing. We are doing the social distancing. We are doing the mask wearing in the enclosed areas. When clients check in, they'll be giving a little goodie bag that's going to contain what they need for their stay with us at Bahia Principe. We do have what we call the COVID police at our resorts, which is just our Bahia Principe employees, and their only job is to walk around throughout the property just to make sure everybody's adhering to the COVID protocols. When we first started this, it was a little difficult because some of the guests coming down, they weren't used to wearing masks. They weren't used to staying socially distanced. It's just not human nature. But as the time has been progressing, everybody's, as they come down, they're already used to it. So it's been smooth. Haven't had any issues. Just looking forward to getting through this and not having to deal with this anymore, which is right around the horizon.
Yes, I guess when you have guests from all over the world, they're used to different things, different level of mask wearing, different levels of social.
Yes, and yeah, it's a very fine line that we at the resorts try to walk between the clients having an amazing time when they come and stay with us, while at the same time staying, not just them staying safe, but also our employees. So it's a fine line that we're walking. We've done a great, amazing job, and it's just we're close, Devin. We're close, almost through with this.
Well, I know there's a lot of Canadians who are eager to come see you. Have you used this time to renovate your properties or make any improvements?
Yes, last year we did have, well, everything was closed for a little while, but we did take that time. We completely renovated 2 of our resorts. One is in Samaná, Bahia Príncipe Gran El Portillo. We completely renovated that property. The pool area has been completely redone. All the a la carte restaurants have been redone. All the bars. I mean, the property came out amazing. So look into Samaná for vacation plans moving forward. Bahia Príncipe Gran El Portillo is the name of that property. Also in Riviera Maya, we also, between February and November of last year, we completely renovated Bahia Príncipe Gran Tulum in the Riviera Maya area. Completely been redone. All the rooms have been redone. All the a la carte restaurants are new. We added a huge kids play section. The theater's been redone. It's an amazing, amazing property. If you stayed there before in the past, and once you come back now, you're not even going to recognize the property. It just came out amazing.
That sounds amazing and sounds like quite an investment. Can we maybe turn to Can we maybe turn to groups and weddings? How are you planning to attract and accommodate them going forward?
Actually, groups and weddings has been coming around a lot quicker, faster, stronger than we had anticipated. I guess when it comes to the weddings, a lot of folks they either didn't get married last year, they just postponed the wedding to this year, or a lot of them did get married, but they just might have had a small, intimate family gathering of the immediate family, and they postponed the actual destination wedding for this year. So June, July, moving forward, it's been taking off as far as weddings. Groups, MICE incentive, that has been, we've been getting tons of requests for that as well, which is, I'm not going to say we're surprised, but it's just very, very encouraged by the way things have been progressing in both of those two sectors.
Yes, we agree with you. We think there's a lot of pent-up demand for travel and also a lot of pent-up demand for weddings as well. Henry, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Devin. It's been awesome. It's been a great time, and we look forward to lots of folks out there traveling 2021 and forward. Thank you.
And now a quick video from Bahia Principe. Now we're here with Vicki Freed. She is the SVP of Sales and Trade Support at Royal Caribbean. Hello, Vicki. Can you tell us what's happening at Royal Caribbean right now?
Well, hi, Devin, and hello, everybody. We're very busy at Royal Caribbean. Even though we're not sailing the high seas in any meaningful way, we are getting ready for our return to service, and that does take time. It's almost like this million puzzle piece puzzle that we're trying to put together, and it's complicated. And every day the rules are changing, and we have to adapt very quickly and be very flexible. So one thing we've learned at Royal Caribbean is that flexibility is a must. And we are sailing currently in Singapore with Quantum of the Seas, and we're about to start sailing in June with the Adventure of the Seas out of the Bahamas. So we do have some ships sailing, and we've had great success in following our protocols to make sure that they are healthy and safe voyages, and our guest satisfaction is at an all-time high.
Yes, I can imagine. It is quite a task to get these ships restarted. Nice to know that there are some options, Singapore and Bahamas sailing out of, you mentioned. Can you let us know how are sales and bookings doing for the rest of 2021 and into 2022?
Well, I think that with the CDC's latest recommendation, where people are able to now be without masks if they've had the vaccination, that's all real promising. So 2021 fall sailings are doing very well. We are also doing exceptionally well in 2022. So it's really good news right now. People are tired of being at home. They want to go on vacation. And it's sort of what we're calling revenge travel. They're saying, you know, I missed my vacation in 2020. I might be missing my 2021 vacation, but when it comes to 2022, I'm going all out. I'm buying a suite because people have more savings now than they've ever had. And as a result, they're ready to go on that big splurge and say, I need to spoil myself.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right about this revenge travel. I've heard a lot of people talk about it and a lot of people planning their next trips already. Can we move on to some travel agent specific ideas? I know you have a coffee talk series. Can you let us know what came out of those series and what your advice to travel agents might be at this time?
Well, that's a great question. And as far as advice, I would take this time right now when you have the time to get educated, to connect with your clients. It is so important that you stay connected with prospects and clients, because when they're ready to purchase that vacation, you want them to remember you. My coffee chats, what initially started as what I thought was going to be a short-term event, maybe 4 or 5 coffee chats, is now into its 56 coffee chat. So every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, I get together with somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 travel partners. I've had more than 5,000, but our system actually maxes out at 5,500. And really the goal is to educate, inspire, motivate, and hopefully teach you something new and give you the latest and greatest up-to-date information on what's going on with Royal Caribbean and the cruise industry.
Wow, that's an amazing number, joining you for coffee. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Vicki.
Thank you, and keep positive, travel partners, because we're just about ready to get it back to return to service in a meaningful way, and we're going to need all of you to participate in the rebuilding of our great industry. Thanks for all your support, and thanks for your patience while we get through this really challenging time.
Yes, we all totally agree. I'm going to pass it back to Catherine, and she is doing our final keynote interview, which is sure to be very inspirational. And then I'm back to do the final grand prize of a $500 Visa gift card.
Hi, we're here with our final speaker today, who's so well known in the industry and so well liked. It's Zaina Gedian, who is the CEO of Travel Professionals International, TPI. Thanks for being with us, Zaina.
This has been amazing. You know, you saved the best for last. Love it. That's just Zaina.
That's right. That's right. Needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyway. But that's right. Best for last. So we've got a few questions for you, because I know, like everyone, you've been dealing with so much over the past 14 months, and there's been some ups and downs, and you've been incredibly busy keeping TPI advisors up to date with everything. So I just wanted to check with you, because you're so in touch with what independent agents are going through right now. Can you just talk about some of the challenges that they're facing, especially with, I know the CERB is starting to wind down in a couple of months, and that's a big concern. Can you just tell us what you're hearing from your advisors at TPI?
So it's actually not TPI only, but as an industry, because we have been one of the hardest hit, we have all depended so much really on the subsidies, whether it's the wage, the rent, and mostly really CERB. The reality of it, if we didn't have those subsidy, I think it'd be a disaster across all our industry. The financial part is huge, but where I really personally am concerned is the brain drain we will see as these subsidies start to diminish or get less and less. Today, what has held us all together really, or the reason I think many agencies, tour operators, even independent contractors have survived, because we were able to depend on the CERB. But if that does go, it will be really very hard for any of advisors to really survive on nothing, especially independent contractors today. Really, if they don't make a booking, you don't make money. So they will all be forced, obviously, to go and find other jobs in other industries. We in travel, again, everybody I talk to, I've tried to retire 3 times and I keep coming back to travel. I think it's something in our blood that we can't get away from. And nobody wants to leave the industry, but obviously we will be forced. So for me, and I know every time I talk, we need our government to do really something. They need to understand how to give something sector specific to our industry. But more importantly, I think we all need a proper plan from the government on how to reopen, how is travel going to come back, how are they going to, allow us to start booking or for customer to travel. It is the only industry that they have outright said no travel, cancel flights. They've killed it from every way you look at. So we definitely need a plan sooner rather than later for us to really put our own plans in place.
It's so true what you say about the challenges that is facing every agent and everybody in the industry is incredible. And it's one of those things that you're right with the CERB, and then there's the SUS and the wage subsidy and the rent and everything. It's just sort of with all that starting to come to an end, as you say, we need a plan. And I keep waiting for them to be like, oh yes, that's right, travel, you guys need some special consideration because there's no curbside pickup for travel. There's no, hey, let's do some takeout or delivery for travel. It's all or nothing, and it's been nothing.
I love that curbside. I'm going to use it.
Well, it's the case, isn't it? Like there's just you can't do halfway with travel. So on that point, the challenges are incredible. What agents are facing. Is there any sort of glimmer of hope in terms of what you're seeing in terms of forward bookings? I know that the situation right now is tough, and how does it look in terms of forward bookings?
So that's finally the big light at the end of this nasty long tunnel, is that for fall, early winter 2021, we are seeing a lot of bookings. And where we're seeing like extraordinary, it's 3 times what we normally would do is for 22, and surprisingly far out 23. It's groups, huge groups has become, we've always, because of independent travel, and obviously because it's, we do a lot of groups, lots of weddings, but this is way surpassing all that. And what we're finding is so interesting is the fact that customers are upselling. I guess they didn't travel last year, so they have a 5,000 flight credit. You know what? 2,000 more, 3,000 more. It's honestly crazy, which is obviously we love it. And I'm not going to say how long I've been in this industry, but for the first time ever, I have never seen the number of around the world cruises being booked. I've never seen that. Like, you used to see one maybe a year. We book maybe 3 to 5 a week now. It's just crazy, which is fantastic for our advisors.
Wow. I mean, off camera, my jaw dropped because it's sort of, 3 to 5 a week. That's incredible, eh? Like it's sort of one of those things where I think it's the revenge travel, it's the bucket list travel, and it's so many people, not everybody for sure, but there's a sizable number of people who are sitting on a pretty, sizable amount of money that they've saved up from not traveling. So 3 to 5 world cruises a week is no wonder you're excited. I mean, that's amazing news, and maybe it'll become normal. It'll become like, hey, we're doing another world cruise. Okay, it'll just be something that people do. I don't know. In terms of the coming months, I know that most people, if they're going to book Canada, they book usually themselves. Are you finding, is there any sort of, uptick in terms of what TPI advisors are booking for Canadian travel this summer? There's still so much in the air. Maybe they're not booking Canada really at all yet.
No, Canada is the one thing we have kept booking even during not the worst times, but off times, like last November, maybe between, I could say, June and November last year, we did book Canada. Obviously not as much as now we're seeing it for this summer. What we did early on, we developed a portal that's for our advisors that only showcased Canadian product. So it's suppliers that offer Canada, tours, rail, and you name it. So it all really was just Canadian focused, just so that we at least give them something to sell when the whole world was shut down. And what helps us or differentiates us is our relationship with Virtuoso. So we did a Canadian collaboration, put the Canadian collaboration team, which they were able to offer us a lot of exclusive product through many of our suppliers.
Okay. So that's, I'm so happy to hear that sort of Canada's been very consistent throughout this whole thing. And it's just been something that I think a lot of agents maybe didn't book a lot of Canada before, but now they are. And as you said, it's been a steady performer, as relative to everything going on. But that's really good to hear. I know in terms of the Canadian airlines, like Air Canada and Transat, of course, and in April, they announced that they were going to do the refunds and they were protecting commissions, which was amazing news. Do you want to talk a bit about just your reaction to Air Canada and Transat protecting commissions and doing the refunds, and also just your thoughts on WestJet and Sunwing going forward?
So being me, it's about, I was going to say a nasty word, but since we're not allowed to curse, or we shouldn't, it's about time. You know what? Okay. And I've said it to my network. I said, you guys are the luckiest people in the world, because had I still been at ACV, I would have said no refunds. So we're so thankful that Nino, Lucy, Air Canada, everybody is really running those companies, because what they have done, and again, people, maybe because I think I've done every job in the industry, whether it's an airline, tour operator, consolidator, travel agent, now it's host. I really know when any of these things happen, I understand the impact. It's financial, it's everything. Where we usually don't, we all, everybody thinks about themselves. For us as travel agent, it's perfect. So it is the best news ever, just because, you know what, it's been such a long road, and it's been 15 months that we haven't had a single sale. For us to even have to go back now, having done all the work to do flight credits, to go and get that commission recalled, I believe we could have bankrupt I know some of our advisors, even with some recalls, are having financial burden. So it's amazing news. It does show, and that's one of the things we've been working with our partners on, really, who are the partners that care for the travel agents, and what they, the longevity, is that the word of us?
Yeah.
It's positive. We definitely want all the other Canadian tour operators, WestJet Vacations, and Sunwing to do the same. We're trying to put pressure on them, but I do understand the whole government. They need this, they need that. But it is definitely the best news we've heard throughout these 15 months. The fact that now, after all the headaches we've been through, that we are able to keep our commissions. You know what? And what brought to forefront this whole thing, one of the things our advisors used to be pissed off at me every time I would ask them, so do you charge a service fee? No. Now, finally, they all figured out they need to do it. So if, heaven forbid, they're refunding their commission or recalling, at least they have the service fee to work with. I always try to look at the positive, and I think that was one of the best positives that's come up from this disaster.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you and I have done interviews we did a series on service fees earlier in the year, and I know you had talked about some of TPI's own conferences about it. I know there's other host agencies doing lots about service fees too, and it's one of those things that I know you said it was sort of like, why wouldn't an agent want to put a value on their service and get what they deserve? I think that segues really well into our last question, which is, what are 3 things that agents can do to position themselves well coming out of the pandemic for when travel really does start to ramp up in, this summer and probably more into fall and winter? What are 3 things that agents can do?
I can do 100, but we'll go with 3. So we published an ebook, actually, and you can find it on our website, because we really wanted to make sure our advisors are on top of everything. But if you tell me pick 3, I think the most important one is customer connection. One of the things that many advisors, when we all went into this black hole of COVID, they really lost touch with their customer. It was one of the things we were adamant that they shouldn't. So every week during all our calls, daily calls, we kept, telling our advisors, don't sell them. We're not saying go sell something that we don't even know when we can do it, but just, send an email, make it more feeling, put into it, let them imagine themselves somewhere so that you stay top of mind. Everybody's going to book again. So you don't want them to forget you. So we did a lot that they had to, lots of different things, whether we gave them templates or stories to keep their customer engaged throughout this time so that when travel happens, they're really ready. The other piece is, you know what? We're professionals. We should need to know our values. Charge a service fee, charge whatever you need to, but upsell, as we are going through this crisis, we know everything, whether it's hotel protocols, we know small things that, customer would never really look at it if they booked it online or themselves. We are able to offer them all that stuff and we know it. But you know what? We're a professional, act like it and charge like it. And last, I think, because of the pandemic, it really has brought home what each agent should be doing with their business. Clarity and focus on their business. Now is the time to work on their business to make sure they are all set up when life goes back to normal. Make sure you're set up for success so that we can really get out of this, I was going to say, pause in travel. Figure out what you want to do as you move forward so that you're much more successful and focused on your business as you move forward.
That's excellent advice. Those are 3 points that I think every agent would, they know in their
I have
hearts.
more, but no.
Oh yeah, okay, that's right. And the other 97, we can get into the other 97 on another day, but maybe we'll come up with a big list. But yeah, you're right. And I think that agents, because they're so in the industry, and as you said, travel gets into your blood, people have been in this industry for a long time, and they know on some level how much, what their value is and how much more they know than the average person. But sometimes because we're all in the industry, sometimes people might forget that, no, you are the expert. You do know more than the vast majority of people out there, and people are willing to pay, and they might almost feel better paying for it because it's such a, then they realize how professional the service is. But I know it's a very tricky, it comes with a lot of concerns that agents have about charging fees. But ultimately, it seems like the message is really getting out there. Put a dollar sign on your value because you're worth your weight in gold. So thank you, Zaina, so much for joining us.
They're really they're actually surprised. They tell customers now there's a fee and they go, okay. They go, shit, we could have asked for it years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what a great opportunity. Like you said, if there's anything to come out of this, I mean, an opportunity's been handed on a silver platter of hey, it's time for service fees. But so I guess everybody's got their own opinions. But anyway, thank you, Zaina, so much for joining us. And it was really a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Travel Week. You guys are amazing. And I'm sure we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm just going to hand it back over to Devin now. She's got the grand prize for today.
Thank you, everyone. I want to take this time to really, really thank all of our speakers today. They have just added so much to the conversation and really helped us understand what's going on right now and how we may actually be able to look forward to sunnier days ahead. So now what everyone has been waiting for, this final prize draw, we're drawing for the $500 Visa gift card. And that is going to Paulette Solomon from the Travel Store. Congratulations. That is quite a prize. Please make yourself known in the chat box and we're going to get that prize to you. And thank you, everyone, for being here today, being here with us at Travel Week. We take our responsibilities of delivering the news to you very seriously. So please stay tuned for the next event. I hope you're getting our daily newsletter and, of course, check out our brand new website. Thank you, everyone. Take care.